it was an entire career of watching physicians struggle, either struggle with the system that they had to work within, struggle, frankly, within themselves because they were thrown into expectations of leadership of which they've had no opportunity to develop it. But yet they have to sort of fake it till they make it in many ways. And I've seen them struggle with that.
Welcome to the Business of Healthcare podcast from the Center of Healthcare Leadership and Management at the University of Texas at Dallas's Naveen Jindal School of Management. Here at UT Dallas, we bring together business executives and other thought leaders to help navigate the challenges of our rapidly changing, increasingly complex healthcare ecosystem. I'm your host, Professor Dan Karnuta, Director of the UT Dallas Professional Program in Healthcare Management. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app to ensure you don't miss any future episodes. You can also join us online at businessofhealthcarepodcast.com. This episode is all about the physician, specifically the role that the U.S. healthcare system plays regarding the well-being of the very people that we rely on for our medical care. There's a new book out called Healing that focuses on physician well-being and coping in a healthcare system that has not evolved in a way that supports physicians to thrive mentally, physically, and spiritually. Today, we have one of the authors with us, Don Taylor. Don is a colleague of mine at the University of Texas at Dallas, where he is a professor of practice and director of the Alliance for Physician Leadership, or APL. Welcome back to the Business of Healthcare podcast, Don.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate the invite and the opportunity to share stories here.
Well, I know you've been through this with us before as a guest many times on our program, but given that this is so connected with the lessons from your book, please start by telling us a little bit about APL.
Thank you. The APL is essentially a program within the Jindal School of Management at UT Dallas, and we were in executive education. We're an MBA program, MS program, or even dual degree program, specifically for more senior or executive physicians who are looking to not only understand a little bit more of business acumen, but frankly discover themselves and develop their leadership potential to move into other stages or just even lead better in their current roles. It's a national program that has been around 24 years, started by Dr. John McCracken, who still is faculty with us. We have about 650 alumni across the country. We have about 90 active physicians from all over the nation in the program today. It's rather popular, so if you hear this and you have an interest, now's the time to reach out. I'm now admitting into early to mid 27 right now for residential seats.
I've sat in on a few of the lectures, the classes in the courses, and it's really something to behold because you're dealing with some very, very bright people, senior level physicians that they want to transition and learn more about the business side of healthcare by getting an MBA or a master's degree in business. And their insight is just really fascinating, when you start going through case studies and, the different curriculum of a business school with people that are just that intelligent.
What was amazing to me, I've worked with physicians for almost 45 years in some way or fashion. In this particular space, though, when they're in this environment, we really cater to their unique needs and to their, frankly, gaps in leadership. So sometimes even when I'm talking to a new physician who's calling and considering the program, and none get in until they have Zoom calls with me or meet with me face-to-face because I'm really careful about culture, about evaluating the cultural fit for our program. I say we're really a physician leadership program that gives an MBA on the side. And that resonates with them because the two things the physicians tell me most that they value from the program, besides just the business knowledge they gain, is number one, they learn about themselves. We really push them into spaces of discomfort where they develop their own internal need for emotional intelligence, for communication, for listening, just basic leadership. The other is they create a community that lasts a lifetime. And that is probably the most recognized value we get out of the program is that they have created relationships they do not have where they work today. because they're so focused on the grind or they're locked in their specialties, they don't get a chance to learn and connect at an emotional level and at a trusting level with other physicians. And we create that deliberately.
Well, that draws us directly into your new book
Yeah.
called Healing. And I guess my first question would be, what is your motivation or was your motivation for writing the book? I mean, in the book, you draw from your experience as both a military leader of physicians and an academic leader of this physician-focused business program. What was your motivation? Why?
Wow. It's interesting because I had these things in my head that I just had to get out of my head. And it was observations, it was lessons, it was an entire career of watching physicians struggle, either struggle with the system that they had to work within, struggle, frankly, within themselves because they were thrown into expectations of leadership of which they've had no opportunity to develop it. But yet they have to sort of fake it till they make it in many ways. And I've seen them struggle with that. They'll never tell you, "I'm not able to do it," because that's just not they're not wired that way. They don't think like that. But I will tell you one-on-one, they do. They share, "This is a little bit frightening to me, but I have to show a stern face in my daily work and in public." That was creating I was watching this create really severe anxiety and frustration with many, or those were just part of their day and it was limiting their ability to sort of grow and develop inside their systems. That was one. The other was I kept hearing them express frustration with lacking of voice. They felt, and physicians today feel they have no voice in healthcare. And I'm of a belief, and that was part of this book as well. I'm of belief that if healthcare is going to change, physicians must lead it. The people today leading healthcare, both in the commercial side, the public side, the private side, politicians, you name it, none of them are really motivated to change a thing because they're doing quite well with the way the system works today. Even though the docs are being ground down to nothing, the nurses the same, and patients aren't being served well. But that's and you'll see that at the beginning of my book. I'm very frustrated about this because we aren't creating health. We're just creating a lot more healthcare, and they're not the same. We've talked about this before. They are not the same. Healthcare is the profitable business. Whether you're a nonprofit or profit, I don't care. You're still making money. The health part of this is the way the physicians have been taught and have been trained to think that they have no way to truly deliver that in today's system. They treat sickness and the patients continue to be sick in return.
Well, because sickness creates the profit.
It does. Health doesn't.
Yes. Keeping people healthy keeps them out of the hospital and out of the provider's offices.
Absolutely. We're about to do my strategy class. I do strategy here in our program. We're going to teach it here in another 4 weeks, and we're going to do the SWOT exercise on healthcare. And I will tell you, every time they get this aha moment, because the greatest threat to healthcare is health under a SWOT. If you create health, the business gets smaller. And they're going, wait, what? That doesn't really work in my head, and I'm not computing that well. And I'm going, it's an awkward state that we're in. Because if we deliver what we claim we want to achieve, it will reduce the business. There's this struggle that they have internally. And then there's this whole other space, and this is my co-author, Gary, 25 years ago created a unique assessment called the PX12 system, which assesses thinking. I mean, I've done leadership assessments, all kinds, Myers-Briggs, DISC, you name it. This was the only one that resonated with doctors because it goes beneath behaviors and assesses the way you think today and against 9 domains. And those domains determine your struggles and the tension between the positives and the negatives there create anxiety. And the doctors I've given this to, and I've given it to probably 150, 160 physicians, I start to see patterns. And that's where Gary and I met because I'm certified in that assessment. And I said, Gary, this is the right way to approach physicians. They've been trained to think differently. And their thinking is the very barrier to their emotional and physical health because they're taught to sacrifice. They're taught to be a little bit, as I call it, there's an element where an area where I call it the blame and shame game. Because all through medical school, it's all gotchas and shame publicly for making mistakes. They're just conditioned to never be transparent about issues. But yet we're begging for safety and quality. But here we are today with safety and quality completely hidden within our system.
You describe it as it's hard for a physician to work with empathy if they've never been treated that way themselves,
Absolutely.
as they've gone through 4 years of med school and 5 years of residency. And it's all that whole education system is all built on what you call this blame and shame game.
So when Gary and I first met, we met in Waco at a hotel. We actually rented a little room, business office at a hotel in Waco. And we met in our first meeting. This book we didn't finish it because I said, there's a way to link the thinking elements of what you do with the things I want to kind of share that I've observed about physicians. And so that was actually the way it started. And that's how we've done it. Now the book is unique, but it's not a read and it's a workbook. It's really a workbook. You read it and I ask you to capture thoughts.
Yeah.
I think this, and it's kind of targeted to docs to work together or work with partnerships as you kind of work through the book and the chapters.
Yeah. At one point, you mentioned what you call the white coat as a burden. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Well, the white coat is symbolic of physicians. It's a very ceremonial step of where you become a physician in your training. But that coat is so heavy.
Yeah, but those that don't know, it's a ceremony. When you start med school, there's a ceremony and everybody goes on stage like a graduation, but it's the beginning, and you get your white coat, and it's your med school coat, right? You're not a doctor yet, so it's not a full length coat, but it's a med school coat.
Right.
And then you get another one when you become a doctor, and it's a real prize, if you will.
It is. And it has the perception of huge responsibility, huge burdens, and by the way, very huge expectations. And it's not just clinical. Embedded in that is also, oh, you're well educated, you must lead. That wasn't part of their development. When many physicians are in med school, the rest of us are out, knocking heads with people learning social skills. They're not. They're locked up in their clinical rotations, learning clinical knowledge. They miss those other early lessons in life that knuckleheads like me learned, just being an idiot and making mistakes. They don't have those opportunities for leadership development. And here of late, as I've talked to a number of health systems, I am absolutely shocked at the absence of physician development inside their own systems. Shocked. I mean, and this is where I go back to my military history, is that from my first day as a little baby second lieutenant, somebody was developing me as a leader. Somebody was responsible to see me step up to the next job or replace them someday. And I saw that my whole career. I just saw this progression, and you do good in your job, then somebody invites you to a better job someday. You don't self-promote for it. You don't ask for it. You're invited.
And by the way, that's the way it works in business too.
Yep.
Same thing.
You just take care of business. But that's absent in their development processes. And health systems today are going, wow, we sure value our doctors. And I've met with a couple of systems at the beginning of when I was doing some research for the book and talking, and I said, really? Let's talk about what you do to invest in their development and growth. Well, we have a wellness program. A wellness program? What does that do? Well, we give them time to go to the gym. That's not it. Have you looked at what's your onboarding for physicians? Oh, well, we teach them how to code and earn revenue. Okay, that's great. Have you taught them how to live? Have you taught them how to find financial advisement? Have you taught them how to find a coach or a mentor? Have you helped them in legal protections for them personally? I mean, I look at every physician as an independent entrepreneur. They can take their skills many places, but they're never taught how to do that. So here in APL, we've even kind of built a small online program to introduce them to all of those sort of life support functions that they need to prepare themselves, because their systems will not do it or haven't done it. And it just shocks me, the absence of that investment in the doctors. And I guess they think the contracts, and I'm going to be very frank, the non-competes will keep them. Well, it keeps the body, it doesn't keep the heart.
Yeah.
That's the part, and that's another part of why I needed to get this book out there.
This episode is brought to you by the Center for Healthcare Leadership and Management, the definitive resource for healthcare management education in North Texas. The center is based in the Naveen Jindal School of Management at the University of Texas at Dallas. It plays a unique role in training the next generation of healthcare leaders to meet local, regional, and national demands. The Jindal School uses its strengths in accounting, administration, finance, marketing, and information systems to educate highly qualified personnel for healthcare administration and executive leadership positions. The center is home to 7 healthcare leadership and management programs, including undergraduate and graduate programs, as well as executive programs for physicians and working professionals. For more information, visit us online at jindal.utdallas.edu/healthcare.
Teaching social skills and how to deal with patients is done in the later parts of med school and through residency through rounds, right? The residents and the med students, they get to do rounds and talk to patients, and that's how they're supposed to learn how to speak to patients with empathy. But they're being trained by physicians who haven't been trained in how to be empathetic. And so if they make a mistake during rounds or say something that maybe the attending physician doesn't think that they should have said, they get yelled at instead of no, here's how you should do it. Here's how I've learned how to do it. And they also learn bad habits from physicians who have been at this for a long time and frankly don't have time for patients. And you've got your med school students and your residents learning from physicians who, quite frankly, aren't spending the empathetic time with their patients that they need to.
Right. And they've taught that they should aspire to the same behavior and roles.
Right. That's their role model. Why wouldn't they?
Right. And then it varies again. And I'll tell you, varies significantly by specialty, by platform of when you work. The academic systems are a little more deliberate about this. I am beginning to see some of the for-profits emulate similar, especially when profits are a little shaky. They start actually becoming a little more directive and more controlling. And so the human element gets diminished or lost in that exchange. And it's frustrating because I'm a believer that physicians shouldn't be treating illness. They should be leading health. And so I think leadership is inherent to physicians leading patients to healthier choices, healthier lifestyles, healthier behaviors. And the physicians, when I mention that to docs, it's like it puzzles them. Because I'm going, no, you don't treat a condition, you lead a journey to health. And the primary care sort of get it. Specialists don't, because they're very specific to a condition or an injury. And their long-term relationships with patients don't really exist like primary care. But yet we need more primary care, but yet we get more specialists. And by the way, and they'll create their own demand.
That's where the money is.
Just happens. We're watching this right now with various conditions across the country, whether that be, I just read one the other day about lower back pain. Oh my gosh. Hundreds of thousands of unnecessary procedures, but it happens. So my point of the book, and Gary and I both talked, we just want to have the starting point and create a dialogue. That's really the space. With this, I've got a couple of health systems buying the book and want me to do a few workshops with them. But it's not a lecture and you get over it. No, you have to commit to changing the way you think.
Yeah, like you said, it's more of a workbook.
It is.
What's your primary audience for the book?
My primary audience is actually individual physicians, but I really want the CMOs to embrace this.
Would be the chief medical officer of the hospital.
It would only be a bonus if I could grab a chief executive officer or a CEO to do this and go, I need my docs to align with this. Because behind this is not only onboarding and development, but it's also recognition of those with leadership potential being recognized, those with emotional intelligence a little bit above the other being recognized. It's also how to help them navigate the governance and committee structures and being recognized in a positive way, help them with coaching, mentorship, investment in this mid-level of leadership development. And then in the end, send them to my program here and we'll polish it off so that they come to you as a CMO, as a chief medical officer ready to go, or a CEO ready to go, with a safety net of community that will always help them navigate problems. And that's the part that we're working with now. And that's what I mentioned in the book, that, if you really want to be immune from burnout, and I hate the word burnout, you really find, first of all, who you are, you balance your life. And it's hard. I know it's hard, but, I hear horror stories. I did a session with a number of docs here in an academic center here about a month ago. And 100% of them said after their partner goes to bed, they spend 3 hours charting every night. That is not sustainable. And that is something we have to recognize. Now, everybody says, well, AI is going to fix it. My last chapter I wrote for the book was, is AI going to heal me? No, it's not. Because the expectation associated with AI is just going to increase the demand for revenue. It's going to push you further along. And if you're not comfortable with the AI relationship, then you're going to be behind the curve, because the expectation is just going to go higher. And that's the part I'm really worried about. And so I'll throw in here on the AI side, we're building a course here for physicians, for physician leadership in AI, because I want physicians to lead AI implementation within a governance standard in health systems. I'm not, frankly, and I don't want the CFO running it, and I don't want the chief nurse running it. I want the CEO running AI with the advisement of a physician for ethical, transparent, safe, risk-averse AI. Because even today, I'll tell you, third-party products that are capturing and documenting records, the data is going somewhere outside your system without controls. You're already exposing patient privacy by using the third-party AI apps. We're doing nothing about it right now.
Yeah, that AI chapter is interesting. You talk about the dangers of it, but you actually also talk about it could make things better for physicians if it's used the right way.
Correct. It has to be used responsibly.
But it dovetails back to what you describe in the book as the dichotomy between patient focus and business productivity. And the physician should be patient focused, but business being as it is, productivity is important. How many patients you see, not, how did you do with one patient, but how many patients did you see, because we get paid for each patient we see. So productivity becomes the bigger focus. And to that end, AI might actually exacerbate that, because, we should be able to see more patients now per day because we got AI doing stuff that used to have to be done by a human and take longer.
Right. Whereas if we were in what I call a well-developed value-based system, maybe it could help. We'd be valued by creating health in the system if we could get all the elements of the value-based model right. But we're not quite there yet, because value is always in the eyes of whoever's interpreting it, and not from the patient's point of view, because value in their eyes would be affordably healthy. And we're not there. We're not there because the system is still trying to sustain its historic revenue levels. And the financialization pressures and corporatizations all trying to pressure that. And by the way, in the federal government, I'll just tell you, our state governments too, they're not interested in fixing healthcare. It's very handy in election years to have a broken healthcare system.
It's not a new issue. It's been around. I had an oncologist back in the mid to late 1980s. He was one of the top in the U.S. And he was a teaching oncologist. He would travel around, to other teaching hospitals as a guest speaker in oncology, very well known. And this was at the advent of managed care, where this is the advent of the pre-authorization form and the physician having to have everything they wanted to do for a patient approved by the insurance company before they could actually do it. And he wasn't used to that. Now, this guy's in his late 40s, early 50s, so still young by working standards. And anyway, the ending of my story is he just quit. He just up and said, you know what?
Yeah.
I've done enough. I'm not putting up with insurance companies telling me what I can and can't do with a patient. And he just hung it up and was, basically never heard from again. I tried to track him down a couple times, and he just couldn't even find him.
I've had physicians in their late 30s tell me they're done, in their late 30s. And it's just because they do not see any solution in the near future for them.
After reading Healing, your new book, is there a basic lesson or takeaway that the reader, if it's a physician or a chief medical officer that leads physicians, that you hope they come away with?
There's two purposes of this, and I think great question, because I want them to first understand the ability to improve their life, their service, and their emotional and physical health is within them. It's within them. Nobody external can do it for you. And the problems you face every day are your problems to resolve, not theirs. So when systems teach resilience, for instance, I won't even do, when people ask me to speak and go, hey, will you give us an hour on resilience? I said, I will not do resilience. I'm going to have your folks reflect on who they are, their own values. And another piece of that is, and this is where we miss many, and there's this connection of purpose. And I need to share with you, when I used to teach pre-med here at UTD, I did that for years. And I loved these 18, 19-year-old kids, and I would have them write a half page on their first day of class, their first quiz, write a half page, tell me why you choose to serve others in healthcare. That purpose resonated with me and resonated with them because they'd never written it down. I read those sometimes to my docs today, and I go, does this remind you of a moment in your own life? When did you lose sight of your original purpose? And by the way, have you stayed connected with this sort of unique service you have that's frankly spiritual too? Because I read a whole chapter on spiritual connection, because it's not religion, it's spiritual. Faith in something greater than yourself. A physician doesn't heal. They're a mechanism, or they're a tool to facilitate healing. They don't have the power. They just have the knowledge to facilitate it. But staying connected with that spiritual moment is really important. And it never really hit me until, again, I was military and commanding a trauma hospital. And I saw moments when the connection of the physician and the patient, that second when they connected, and both hoping they had the opportunity or the strength to survive that moment. That was special to me, and I never saw that in healthcare other than then, and now I see it missing today. And so that's one part that I want to do. I go back to, you have it within yourself, and I coined the term that I'm going to be developing a little more. Matter of fact, I'm starting to draft another little follow-on book called Your Being, because it's not well-being. Physicians, every solution for a physician is unique to them. It's unique to them. They're smart enough to get it. They will overthink things many times. I love them, but they're wired to think and to solve problems. They are fix-it people by nature. A standard program will not work for them. They resist generic programs. They want custom solutions. And I think Your Being has to be done that way. Some of them need more physical time. Some of them need more family time. Some of them need more other things. They have other stuff in their life they have to balance. But they're bright enough to try to resolve it themselves. Most of the time they need help doing it. So that's the part I really want to do, is you have the ability within yourself to solve your life and to solve this problem. The other part of that is I want you to learn to give back. Physicians need to give back. Like our graduates here, I actually encourage them now to teach, mentor, and stay connected and create a community where they serve others. And that's one of the greatest, I guess, protections against burnout I've ever seen, because that was the way my military community was. You serve a 30-year career, guess what? You turn right around and you still serve. You go nonprofits, you still teach, you still mentor, you still do things because you're still of value. And that's the part I want to teach the physicians. Their value is way beyond what they're earning in the exam room. They need to find that value on a larger scale and embrace that, because someday that'll be the next stage in life.
Well, Don, thanks so much for being with us today and walking us through your new book. Where can we get this book?
It's published by Kindle Hunt. You can go to just Google Kindle Hunt, go under Higher Ed on the tab, and then just type healing. It'll give you the link right there. I also have a webpage at www.phYins.org, phYins.org, and that will also be available, a link there as well.
And the publisher again is Kendall Hunt, Kendall,
Dall, Hunt, Hunt. They're an academic publisher.
Okay, thanks for being with us, Don, and I know we'll come calling again.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks for listening to the Business of Healthcare podcast. To learn more about the Center for Healthcare Leadership and Management and the Healthcare Management Business Degrees and Certificates available to seasoned clinicians, master's students, and undergraduates through the University of Texas at Dallas, go to jindal.utdallas.edu/healthcare.